This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Today we're going to talk about how Hollywood is on life support.
But before we do that, make sure to smash that like button
Over there.
please and thank you, because it really does help us out. Before we get into it, Vincent is on vacation.
I'm on vacation. I took a really long look in the mirror, I think yesterday, and I was like, oh, my eye bags are not that prominent anymore.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I felt like you've looked healthier, but I thought it was all our exercise and self-improvement stuff that we've been doing.
Sleeping a little bit earlier. But no, I've been looking at I can see like the color under my eyes isn't so pale, and my eye bags aren't as intense.
Yeah. And we've been, I'm doing it. We're, like I said in the last podcast, I'm waking up early. I've gotten to 5 a.m.
We went 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I think it took us like at least 4 or 5 days, but I think last Wednesday was the first time we woke up at 5.
Yeah.
And it was dark. But it felt right because we went to sleep at 10.
Yeah.
Wow, we're like grandparents.
We are slowly going to make our way up to 4 a.m. But man, I feel like a superhuman. I feel like I already lost 10 pounds. I've been going so hard exercising.
Go too hard.
There is no 80% for me. There's only 110%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the topic.
Okay.
Enough about how you're like a tiger mom or something.
I am very competitive with myself.
I know, yes.
So, Warner Brothers has announced that they are going to be putting the 2021 slate of movies on HBO Max.
This is the biggest news. This is gigantic, ginormous news. Mm-hmm. I know people are like I don't know, everyone's like, oh, it makes sense, it's a pandemic and all this stuff, but like really sit with that for a moment. Just a year ago, this was unfathomable. Yeah. This was always like, oh, why can't movies just, show their latest showing, like Wonder Woman on whatever streaming platform? Well, because there's this agreement that they're not supposed to, it promotes monopolies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just impossible. But us moviegoers, we always knew that it was an eventuality, at least one day.
Movie lovers, we are a little bit more just aware, I guess. We follow news about the thing we love, movies, very closely. And we all kind of predicted that. I mean, it's kind of a long time coming.
Yeah, years ago when we first started dating, I remember just listening to podcasts that were around back then, just people talking about how, oh yeah, just thinking about like, oh, when, not an if, but when these movies are available, as available as, whatever you watch on streaming, things are going to change. Mm-hmm. And things are changing.
Yeah.
Right now, and it's super hard to keep up because there's so many things going on at the same time.
And I think for a lot of non-movie lovers, like people who just aren't, I guess, don't keep super up to date with like the amount of people who are going to theaters and who actually goes to theaters still, and I think it was hard to see. Like people would look at people like us and be like, you're crazy.
Yeah, because when there's a movie like I don't know, Infinity War, mm-hmm. or these big WB movies like Suicide Squad or whatever it is, people clamor and go and watch the big movies on the screen. But back then, especially growing up, you'd see a lot more independent movies or smaller movies, mm-hmm. simpler movies like comedies. Yeah. But right before the pandemic, it was just blockbuster after blockbuster.
Yeah, and I think it's easy when you're around, you're in a little bit of a bubble, and I think all of us kind of are if we're artists and we like what we like. We surround ourselves with people who are like us, so it seems like, oh, we're all, I don't know, let's say comic book nerds. We all go and watch Marvel movies. We all go and watch Star Wars. How could that be? But I actually have a whole lot of people around me who, are just normal, casual movie watchers. They're not going to the theater anymore. Like even a year ago, a few years ago, maybe once a year, and it's mostly because of social pressure.
Yeah, I feel like average moviegoers go to movies because their friends are like, oh, have you heard that this movie's coming out? And they string them along. But I feel like the average person probably watches a movie back then, before COVID, like 4 or 5 times a year, and these are like the big ones. These are like, could be Cinderella or Star Wars or whatever it is. Yeah. But it's never to see Lady Bird.
No. I don't know how...
As much as I love Lady Bird.
Yeah. I don't know how many people watch Lady Bird or Moonlight or Spotlight or whatever until it was on streaming. And so we kind of predicted that this would happen years ago. But the problem is no one could have predicted the pandemic, and it just kind of made fast-forwarded time a little bit.
Really fast.
Yeah. Because we were expecting this to happen maybe in 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe sometime down the line, not immediately. And when they put their movies on streaming, because now that Warner Brothers has done this, all the studios now are like,
fuck, what do we do?
We need to respond in some way.
This is like a Cold War to the movie theaters. Yeah. Like, but the thing is, though, I don't know how it really was, but the way I saw it was like WB made a honest effort to try to have a movie out there. And, I was rooting for it. We all were rooting for it. Didn't make it. Didn't make money. Tenet didn't make as much money as it was supposed to. So, like, watching WB do this, I was just like, fuck. But I get it. But like, this is not good. And now all the studios are like, what do we do?
Yeah. So we're just going to assume, because the natural scenario coming from this is that they're all going to start doing that.
I think that's a guarantee at this point.
Yeah. And so what that kind of means is that there usually is some level of transparency when movies go into the box office, and there's always that like week 1 box office, like to gauge how well a movie did and whatever. We're not really going to have that in the coming years.
And if you think about it, when have we really had clear numbers for the past 3 years? The studios and whoever haven't been telling us hard numbers
at all. Like, we don't know how well Mulan did.
We will never know how well Mulan did.
And the reason why I specifically know this is because when I was at DreamWorks, DreamWorks is separate from Netflix, and DreamWorks TV was making a whole lot of children's TV shows, cartoon TV shows, animated cartoon TV shows for Netflix. And all the people who are working on those shows, I think the showrunners were really frustrated with the fact that Netflix greenlights things like they pay DreamWorks to make shows, basically, until they open their own studio. So they pay DreamWorks. DreamWorks makes the show. Usually when this happens with like a network, like, I don't know, ABC, whatever, you have like an idea of how well the show did because of ratings and how much money that it potentially made or whatever. With what DreamWorks was really frustrated with was Netflix didn't share any of their numbers. So the people on the shows had no idea if their show was doing well or not.
Until they get canceled.
Or greenlit for the next seasons.
Whether the show lives or dies is how, if your show's good or not.
So a lot of us who worked at DreamWorks at the time, basically, we had a set amount of episodes that we knew were guaranteed, and no way of knowing if we had a job in 9 months.
So imagine that. Imagine that. Arts school student, recently graduated, finally broke in, and then you're like, oh, so I might be looking for work in another 10 months. That's That's basically what it is.
You basically operate with the knowing that your job can be gone at any moment, literally any moment, because of that. And also, just because this is like the standard with Netflix, what makes you think like any of the other streaming services are going to be transparent? And clearly Disney Plus has not been with Mulan. So, and like, I think from an outsider's perspective, they can't really understand why this is important. But this transparency, like, is kind of really important. We want to know how well our movies do. We want to know if we're going to have a job. If they're like, it's some of certain people's only way to predict what a studio is going to do.
Right, and it's a good way to measure success, truly.
Yeah.
Merit-wise, just to see how much... Like, for me, one of the most fascinating movies to watch just stay in theaters was the first Kingsman movie, because it had just a very whatever lackluster opening. But because of word of mouth, that movie just stayed in theaters for months. And then that's for me, what I see as a successful movie. Does it have legs? Is the movie awesome enough for people to say, oh, that movie was really good? And then to see that the movie is still top 5 in the box office. I mean, like, how could you not say that that's a successful movie if it stayed there for like 4 or 5, 8 weeks? So the fact that we barely have enough information to measure if a movie's successful or not tells me, oh, are you guys hiding it from us for some reason? I wonder why you're hiding those numbers from us. Because way back when, you had no problem sharing how successful your, I don't know, superhero, super multiverse movie was.
Because they had to.
Yeah. But now it's like, oh, well, how well did Mulan do, truly?
Yeah, and even if it did well, they're not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like there are shows that went on Netflix that were greenlit like season after season that, like, I guess that means the show was doing well. But, like, how well? Maybe the studio could negotiate maybe like a higher production budget, because now we know that the show is like really beloved, and like
we have a fan base.
Yeah, we can like
share,
maybe expand our team or like pay people more, whatever. No, you don't have that leverage anymore, because you have no idea if the show that you made did
well at all. Especially on TV, things are going so fast, you don't even think about that type of stuff.
No, yeah.
You can barely manage the season that you're on, let alone plan for the next one.
Yeah,
because you're really going at like a ridiculous pace.
I mean, especially at DreamWorks, there were a lot of like in a show, there are teams, and like you can joke about like, oh, you know, there's the A team and the B team, and we
joke about that when we watch anime all the time.
Yeah. Like, the A-team worked on this episode.
Yeah.
This fight scene specifically. But there are overseas teams now, because they're like, you know, keeping things lean. The budgets are lower, and yeah.
Which makes me think about something I told you a couple days ago. I was thinking, you know, as much as I love to say, oh, these corporations, blah, 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 I never truly believe that they hated us. That they hate us, because I think, why would anybody who has all of everything care to hate people, like care to hate the people who don't have that kind of stuff? It just seems like some kind of waste of time, and I don't think, like, why would they even do that? Why would they even bother? And then we'll talk about it later, but I'm sure you've seen the video of the lady who's like, what the hell? I can't, you know, open up my restaurant, cafe, patio. But right there, a few steps away, Hollywood is making their really shitty food truck patio bullshit that we see all the time. I forgot if I can only remember the brand. But anyway, I was thinking when I saw that, I was like thinking like, wait, what if they actually do want to stomp on want to stomp on small businesses. And I just keep thinking, like, I don't have any hard proof other than the fucking pattern of behavior that we see from these from everyone, even our politicians, even goddamn Hitler and hairdo,
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom.
God, Hitler and hairdo.
Hitler and hair gel, sorry.
Oh yeah. But I genuinely think that they do hate us, normal people. And they hate us, their laborers, a little bit less, but they do still hate us. And I
Wouldn't people be like, oh, what? Hate seems like such a strong word. You're being hyperbolic.
oh no, I have some information for you. But you know, there are people who I think it's really interesting. The people who report on this news, they talk about like the dying movie theaters and how the studios have so much power and money to do something about the movie theaters. Why won't they help them and stuff like that? And I listen to it and I go like, what makes you think they care about the movie theaters? In fact, they hate the movie theaters. They want them to die. And
Yeah, if you don't know, movie theaters only get, I think, the concessions. Really, truly, they barely get any take from the movie.
So I guess that brings us to this really crazy thing that we learned about.
Moments ago.
Yeah. And I am really shocked that they slipped this under the rug in all the chaos, and no one reported on this. No one said anything. And so again, the reason why movie theaters and movie studios kind of hate each other is because there was this act. Actually, let me find the name of this.
Yeah.
So back in 1948, there was this thing called the Paramount Consent Decree, which basically meant that the studios cannot also own their own movie theaters because, and we're gonna give you a little bit of movie industry history here. Everything that we're experiencing now and everything that we're watching happen in the movie industry and the entertainment industry has happened once before, and it gave me chills to learn about this. Back in 1918, there was the Great Influenza Pandemic. Just like the pandemic that's happening now, a lot of businesses went out of business, including movie theaters. And during that time, a lot of production studios also went out of business. But by the end of it, the ones that were left were in the best position possible. What happened was they bought up all the dying movie theaters, all the small mom and pop owned theaters, and it became like the Disney movie theater, the Paramount movie theater, and it basically consolidated the movie industry so that the movie studios could control production and distribution of their movies. So they could basically, they call it block booking, where they decide like only our great big blockbuster is allowed to show during these times, and no other big blockbuster can compete because we're not even going to show it in the theater because we own the theater. And these studios, this industry became a little bit too much of a monopoly. So this Paramount Consent Decree was created back in 1948 to make it so movie studios cannot also own movie theaters. And some of the things that are included in this decree is things like movie theaters and movie studios share 50-50 the profits of exhibiting the movie. That's why the movie studios hate the theaters because they're like, why should we pay you to show, like, we want the ability to distribute our own movies, so we won't have to have such a big marketing budget. We won't have to pay you 50%. Why do you deserve 50%? But that basically grew the industry because it inspired competition, and it helped the growth of the industry once the decree happened, because now more studios were able to come up. More independent production studios can come up and like finally compete and stuff like that. Well, back in August, literally
of this year,
a few months ago, completely, like, very, very quietly, a federal judge ruled to basically get rid of this. So now movie studios can now own their own movie theaters.
Just like how it used to be.
Just like how it used to be. They, like, just like these studios also took advantage of the 1918-1919 pandemic and basically consolidated their wealth and power by buying up these theaters after the pandemic, and they were the only studios left anyways because all the smaller production studios went to the way of the dodo.
So the parallels, freaky.
Yeah. How is this not more obvious that the studios hate you? They hate you. They hate all you independently owned movie theaters. They hate you, the people, because one of the quotes that I saw, that the opinion of the judge was that the reason why they got rid of this is, in quotes, it's not in the people's interest anymore.
Oh.
I can't believe I read that and was like, wow. No, this is clearly a ruling in favor of the big corporations to consolidate power. There is no other way of reading that ruling. And yet you want to tell us, oh, it's because we want it. No. No. And what this kind of is really freaky is when Warner Brothers announced that they're going to put their entire 2021 slate of movies on the HBO streaming service. There's no reason to predict that we will still be in quarantine in fall of 2021. And fall and winter of 2021 is usually a big movie season.
Yeah, it's second to summer, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's like Oscar bait season, and it's
holiday movie season.
Yeah. So it was really strange to me. Like, why would you do it for the entire year? Like, to say that, oh, you're testing this out or whatever. It's almost like you're guaranteeing, you're trying to force these movie theaters to die, to
go out of business and depend on you to resurrect them and keep them alive. It's so wow.
And like one of the reasons why we predicted this, like years ago when I was still working, is because I thought there's no way this decree would ever get overturned. But I saw an opening with streaming. Like, I thought eventually these studios are all going to put their things on streaming because it can circumvent this distribution thing. And then when I heard about this, I was like, oh, it's a win-win. If it works out for them when they test this thing out and they put all their movies on streaming because they have no choice right now in order to survive, to be one of the 6 companies that survive, if they win out and everyone has adopted streaming, they win. And by the end of 2021, when all the theaters are going to be out of business, they can either buy them up or they can make their own. And now there's absolutely no competition for them. In streaming, in the theaters, like, how will independent cinema, how will they be able, they are going to have to play ball with Disney. They're gonna have to play ball with all these big corporations.
Yeah, you have like a really neat idea for a movie. You want just some money to invest, and you want it to show in this movie theater, but it's owned by Disney. And then you're like, oh, I have this great idea for a movie. Here's the script and all this stuff. And the mouse is like, oh, there's not enough woke shit. There's not enough woke shit. We need more woke shit.
Also, we need to praise China a little bit more.
Yeah, there's not enough China praising.
And I was like, okay, so all they have to do is survive like this streaming period, and
which we know they will.
Yeah,
Of course they will.
And I was just kind of like, man, oh man, this I genuinely did not put any stock in the whole idea of the Great Reset, because it's like kind of ridiculous.
It's ridiculous sounding, yeah.
But man, when I read this, the fact that it was slipped under the rug so quietly at the beginning of August, and honestly, it was planned since April. Like literally since
because that's
April.
When it was put forward.
Yeah, I think so. And they slipped it under the rug during all the chaos, during all the like distractions.
It's almost like they were like, oh man, when another big sickness, pandemic, global thing happens again, what we would do. And immediately, this is like a few months after everything started locking down. This was done so fast.
I was kind of like, did I have my head stuck in the sand or something? Like, did anyone report on this?
I don't think anybody
like,
reported
that
on
we
this.
Actually read, that we actually follow.
Because we were just looking up our show. We were about to not do this. I was like, oh, right before we start, let's look up some facts and stuff, just to be thorough. And then, lo and behold, the very first thing you see is this Forbes article about all of this.
And so I saw it on Forbes and on Collider, and then Forbes linked to a New Yorker article about the whole 1918-1919 pandemic, which in that article also had reference to a book that was published back in the 1930s, which was a history of American cinema till that point, and it talked about how it's in a book. This information's all in books. It's well documented, and yet none of us knew about this. We did not see this coming at all, and I got confused. I was like, wait, did anyone on the internet, like the Quartering, Neurotic, all the people that we like to listen to, did I just miss that video or something?
Because the thing is that this was done so early, and all of this is like happening now. The whole HBO thing, that it's difficult to connect. But now that we saw what they were doing from the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, they put this thing forward, judge rules on it. A few months later, stuff's ending up on streaming services. It's like, I don't
guarantee.
I'm not,
will go away.
am I being conspiratorial, or am I seeing a pattern, or what? Like, I don't like. Am I crazy? I could be crazy. I could be crazy.
A plan, because they're like logical next steps,
right?
They're not like similar.
And for example, 6 months later, what do you think? They're gonna be like, oh, okay, we're totally done showing movies on streaming. Bullshit.
Yeah, no.
Bullshit.
No. And so,
like, we're gonna totally shut down this thing.
Yeah, I was kind of like, wow, how did I not know this? As on top of industry news as I am, how did I not know this? How did this news like slide under the rug from all the people who report on entertainment news? So I'm just like, man, we don't have that big of a following. The Quartering, Neurotic, go ahead and take this story, please, and share it to your million followers.
This is exactly what they're going to do.
It's
exactly what they're going to do.
They're following the plan, like from a century ago.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, wow, I guess maybe there is some valid points of the whole like Great Reset thing, because I'm seeing it. It's kind of like scary how I've discovered your plan, evil corporate overlords. I know, and I know no one's gonna listen to me, and I know I'm small and I can't do anything about it.
Also, tell them fuck the CCP.
But fuck the CCP. God damn. I'm just just shocked. Like I feel like I discovered their chess move.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like.
And I can't do anything
Yeah,
about
of course not. That's why we're like shuttling this off to the bigger ship. Yes, please. Do something. We just draw and shit. We can't do anything.
Talk shit on the internet. But in the meantime, what does that mean for people? Obviously, there are a lot better people who can talk about what that means for theaters
and the box office
and
money.
Yeah, better than I think we can.
Yeah.
But we can talk about what's going to happen to the people in the industry and all the people who want to work in the industry. And what it means in the short term, at the very least, is that there are going to be lower budget movies because the way people are spending money on entertainment and movies is changing forever.
Yeah.
Back when we would go to the movie theaters, let's say you are a family of 4. And
to tell everyone your story from your storyboard mentor again, about the seats, the butts in the seats.
Oh, so my storyboarding mentor, he's the one that taught me basically everything. I was doing some kind of like pitch competition thing, and he was grilling me on like how you need to understand the studio that you're pitching to in order for them to care what you're pitching about. So who is their audience? And I was pitching to Disney, so I was like, kids? and he was like, no, try again. And I'm like, little girls? And he's like, no, families, because 5 butts in seats is better than 1 butt in seats. And I was like, oh. And from then on, I completely understood why Disney movies are the way they are, why everything is marketed the way it is. It's because the reason animated movies could easily just simply be for kids and not have any adult humor jokes at all, not have any semblance of like a coherent story at all. But the reason why sometimes, especially some of the older animated movies, you'll find that like there's some like dirty jokes that you would never understand as like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. It's because it's for the parents. They don't want just like one person going to the theater. They want an entire family. So when you go and see like Frozen 1000, they're like a family of 10 sitting in the seats. It's like the grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle, cousins, it's like an event. So
when families bring like the entire extended family just to watch like Avatar or whatever it is, that like makes them so happy.
It makes them very happy. That's why they...
Oh, like something like Coco, where you just want to bring everyone. Bring everyone. Oh, man. That's exactly what they want.
It's a family movie. Even, like, grandma can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, imagine how much money that is. If you're going to, like, prime time, not, like, 7 a.m. in the morning, like 7 p.m. at night when everyone like is off from work, their primetime seats. What is that, like $30 or more per seat, depending on if you got Dolby, if you got IMAX, if you got 3D or whatever. Probably more. That's hundreds of dollars in just ticket sales. Now, let's say you you can watch Wonder Woman for $30 at your home. Everyone's gonna invite the entire family to the home, or at the very least you have like your 5 family members. Instead of paying hundreds of dollars plus popcorn plus whatever, you're paying $30 for 5 people. Like, how are these streaming services going to possibly make as much money with these movies compared to having it shown in the theaters? So that's why what's going to have to happen is these budgets are going to have to decrease.
They're just not going to get as much money back, so they can't like make these billion-dollar big budgeted superhero movies anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have to strip it down, make it more of those like personal moody Logan type things. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't think there's going to be another Infinity War thing.
Yeah, big blockbuster.
I want to say ever.
Yeah.
Not for
a while.
I don't know. We're going to be really old when it happens again.
But what that means is that when any company starts losing money instead of gaining money, what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to cut costs. How are they going to cut costs? They're going to figure out ways to spend less money on the manufacture of their product. Who manufactures the Hollywood industry's products? Laborers like us who make the movies for them. So if they're going to cut costs, what are they going to do? They're either going to cut your pay, they're either going to cut your job, or your job's going to go overseas because it's already happening. What's going to stop them? Like the fact that there are storyboarding jobs or entire teams. Like when I was working at DreamWorks, entire teams were in Canada. Like half of the storyboard artists would be here, and then the rest of them would be in Canada or wherever. Design jobs. We all thought design jobs wouldn't be outsourced, but they are. So, and then you might be saying, if you're knowledgeable of the industry, well, no, they're not going to do that because we're Americans. We're so much more skilled at this than they are. And especially if you're in the industry, you're looking at the work that comes back from overseas.
Have you learned nothing?
And they're like, oh, they can't possibly be as excellent as us Americans. I mean, do you think they care? Do you really think the executives care about quality? No. Especially if you work in TV, they do not care. They will so willingly just ship entire productions off to wherever if it costs like a fraction of what it costs to hire an American to do it. And they will if they had to. They will if they had to. So I feel like I've already been seeing a whole lot of layoffs lately. I mean, it is the holidays, but
yeah, like it's hard to tell because usually because shows usually wrap up around this time. But the real test is, will people be still looking for work, say February or March? That if people are still looking for work February or March, that's not good.
Not a good sign.
That's really, really not good.
Yeah. So I've been listening to a new audiobook called Loser Think by Scott Adams. I have been on this huge self-improvement kick before the new year, and it's been really awesome. And I really recommend it. And if you don't already have an Audible subscription, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get 1 free audiobook or 2 free Audible original audiobooks, so 3 free audiobooks in total. audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. The studios will have to make very smaller, more intimate stories because they no longer have these like $100 million budgets. Or
They still could.
They could still make your favorite giant blockbuster movie even after a pandemic by selling out to China. I didn't know you had that sound. Yeah, I think if they really wanted to, and I wouldn't put it past them, because I do not think that
these people give a shit about principles.
No. I think they could, if get more Chinese investors, and they're just going to sell us out to China. And
it's not even a I don't know, prediction. It's like an inevitability at this point.
Yeah. I was kind of maybe they'll slowly do it. Just like how they have been. They're slowly, accepting more Chinese money, slowly censoring their own movies.
There's no sign to me that they're going to stop. Yeah. That's the key to me.
It's in hyperdrive. It's
it's going in overdrive.
Yeah.
Just like this whole theater thing.
Yeah, it's just going 1,000 miles
per hour.
And it's just no way of stopping this crazy train. That is in our future. Yay!
But yeah, I hope you're enjoying. I hope you really enjoyed Creative Talent Network, and schoolism's great. This is such a great industry we have. We pay you really well, and if you put where you work in your Instagram bios, you'll get a lot of followers.
Oh no!
Free lunch.
I think that is changing very soon too.
What?
Because if you guys haven't been paying attention, the public hates Hollywood now. And I could have told you so.
Admit it. The surrender to the truth.
Yeah. So we saw again. We mentioned earlier that there was this poor lady here in California. I think her restaurant is called the Pineapple Hill, and she went viral because she was losing everything because of the lockdowns. She's not allowed to. She invested money just to get picnic benches and a gazebo and all these things to make outdoor dining work that costs hundreds of dollars. And she was already restaurants already losing lots of money. And then now we're in California's in another 3-week hard lockdown. Quote unquote 3 weeks. Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts. 3 weeks where I feel like one of the reasons why we've been so good at losing weight recently is because we can't eat anywhere.
We can't eat anywhere anymore. We can't go to our favorite brunch places. So we're okay, fine. I guess we'll get healthy early.
Yeah. And so she went viral because she's oh, I'm losing everything.
So she has her phone. I'm sure you could find it really easily. She has her phone out right in front of her place, her cafe. It looked like, she could have or had a place to vend and have people over. But then she said, I can't do that anymore because of the restrictions. And then she walks just a few seconds away into the bigger open parking lot. And then lo and behold, there's a Hollywood cafe food truck tent area just erected, which we see all the time. They have the food trucks and all this stuff. And it was just kind of that's so... I remember I saw this in the morning on Twitter and I was this is so freaky. Yeah. This is so freaky because we said this.
I said it.
You said this in the podcast.
Months ago. I predicted this months ago and no one listened to me.
So you said in the podcast that you said something I'm not sure if any of you know this, but us in Hollywood, we're allowed to function while hair salons and cafes, are restricted or at low capacity. Us Hollywood people, are allowed to work. And you said something I'm happy that the smaller, the littler jobs like the grips and the PAs, they get to have food on the table, but it's a little... I said it's a little fucked up that the hair salons can't open, the bars can't open, the any kind of event, exhibition or whatever, it's over for that industry.
And yet,
conventions, something that we adore and love, we can't do it. We can't do it at all.
I think it's... At the time, I thought it was really ironic because I was well, first of all, if you guys have never seen what a Hollywood production looks like, let's just say it's really hard to be safe in these days, to be in production, with the masks and the social distancing and all that stuff. A little bit impractical if you've ever actually seen a production happen, which, if you live in LA, you see pretty often, so you're kind of familiar what that looks like. It's people running around everywhere, tents everywhere, cars everywhere, 1,000 lights. How is that essential? Restaurants are not essential, but a production is. I predicted this, and no one cared until that lady made it very clear what was about to happen.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, we could just say it, but that lady did a really good job of illustrating our point.
Yeah, because I was making a prediction, and then it happened, and you were like, "You're in control." Vincent has this weird theory.
I have a theory
that. I keep saying that Elon Musk controls the simulation, but Vincent thinks I control the simulation, but I just have absolutely no control over it.
Yeah, I keep explaining it like if you played Bioshock Infinite, that Janet's basically like Elizabeth. You know how Elizabeth can open tears into different dimensions, but she can't really control it? That's like Janet. Like she can see what's going to happen, or she can control what's going to happen, but she doesn't have control over that ability. So she kind of just stumbles into simulation making.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because sometimes I'll say stuff to you in private that like, oh, I think this is going to happen. And then it does like a month later. And it's happened consistently over and over and over again that you're like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, I know. I think I remember telling you that that I think you're in control of everything, and then after everything I told you, but you should stop now though.
I was like, I don't have control.
You've done enough.
So yeah, that she did a very good job illustrating exactly what was happening, and I think it's ironic because it's not like, who are you making your TV show or movie for?
That's the thing.
Because like, if we don't have money because we're locked down and we have no capability of paying to watch your movie or your TV show, why are you making a TV show if no one can pay to watch it? I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, I think seeing the general public's reaction to that viral video, I was like, oh, I was already seeing that this is the beginning of the end for all you Hollywood people out there, all you people who aspire to be famous in Hollywood and have all this adoration, all the people worship the ground you walk on, or the people who are currently in Hollywood who like to, I don't know, put your job title or the studio you work for in your bios, and just, your only value and the only reason why anyone cares about you is because you work on what? Yeah, that's not gonna be there soon, if at all, if it even is there today. Like, the social proof and the social, I don't know, standing that you get for working in Hollywood
evaporated.
I don't think it's gonna exist anymore after this. People hate Hollywood now. And I hate to say it, but I'm like, I saw this coming. The pandemic just like,
it's not an overreaction. I mean, imagine all of the business owners who had, like I kept saying, like Delicatessen in front of Cartoon Network, closed. All of our favorite places to eat, closed. Imagine if you were one of those people who got shut down, and then you saw that video of the lady, and then all of a sudden, look, Hollywood's allowed to do their shit, and it's not like they're doing anything different from you. They're catering to people who are eating out in the open.
It makes it worse. All you Hollywood types lecturing people about their lives and making them feel bad. The first thing normal people care about or are feeling. Like, I see people all the time, like elitist animation people, just being like, oh, you people, you don't care about grandma. You're awful. Do you think any of these people actually care? They actually believe that, oh, they care so much about grandma. You haven't talked to grandma in like a year. I bet you. All you people have such awful relationships with your families. God, it's a known thing that all you people get divorces. Like,
oh, damn! Fuck!
Like, God. Stop telling me I don't care about grandma. You know what? I think I'm being farewelled right now. Like, I think you don't care about grandma, and you're projecting onto me, and all you want to do is just lecture me about how much I don't care about grandma. You're the one who if you talk to your grandma, she probably would tell you, I miss you, I want to see you. I'm old. I have very little time left on this earth. I miss you.
You want to talk about your recent trip to the doctor?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. This is why
Slow down. Like, really milk this story.
Okay.
Like, really paint a picture.
This is why I am a pretty, I want to say I care a lot about things I think normal people don't care about. So, like, I can be empathetic about certain things I really, really care about. And like most people, most humans, it's pretty easy, I think, to manipulate most people emotionally by saying things like, oh, you're trying to kill grandma, okay, whatever. So for a while, I just like dealt with it. And then recently, I went to get my annual physical, my checkup at the doctor's, and I'm afraid of needles. And so the nurse, she was trying to help distract me so I don't freak out while she was drawing blood. And she was just, chatting with me, and she was asking...
You also have, you have the best blood pressure of your life right now.
Oh, so I'm a very healthy person. I'm so healthy that I tend to have low blood pressure, like too low, dangerously low. But I've been exercising like a madwoman, so I have
in the morning and at 5 o'clock in the evening.
I exercise for 2 hours a day and another hour for stretching. But apparently I am very, very healthy. But she was so she was just talking to me and about anything and everything, and she was like, oh, she thought I was still in college. That's how young I look. And she was like, oh, have you graduated? Are you my daughter, she's like a young psychiatrist. And I was like, oh, interesting. Are there a lot of people seeing her these days? Because obvious reasons. And then she was like, exactly in this way. Yeah. She like whispered it, like painfully. Yeah. And I was like, that's really sad. That's wow, that's really sad. And it gets sadder. And she's like, yeah, a lot of people who go see psychiatrists, they're old people. And, we can't see them in person anymore. So it has to be through like telemedicine, like Zoom. So, the old people, they don't know how to use the new technology and stuff. So my daughter has to be really patient and like help them figure out this stuff out. And I was like I felt my heart break, and then I just felt like it like immediately scab over, and was like, oh my God, I hate everyone. I hate everyone who's ever lectured me about this or about who lecture anyone. If you know anything about friction in business, for example, an online store, depending how many clicks it takes you to buy something, if it takes one more extra click, like half the people who want to buy that just won't.
They tell us this in online portfolio building too. Yeah.
And so if they, for example, if you have too much barrier to buy something, like, like think about it. When you want to buy something, you have to like go get your credit card, find your wallet, read the card, find the back of the card, and then like all of that decreases the chances of someone actually buying something online. And it's literally the difference between like 1 click or 2 clicks or 3 clicks or whatever. Someone who is suffering and needs to go to a psychiatrist, like imagine how difficult that is to on top of like, it's already hard enough for someone to make an appointment with a doctor, admit that they have a problem, admit that like, oh, I need help, find the right doctor, and then like on top of everything, now these really, like, grandma has to figure out Zoom. And like that's really, really sad to me. It's really sad to me that like not only are they crazy busy, psychiatrists are like crazy busy these days. I'm just like, oh no. What I thought was the case, the mental health of our country is like going to shit. I'm like, the other day there was a story about a 11-year-old boy who I don't even know if I can say, like,
no, you can't even say
yeah
it.
Like,
I mean, I can say who Jeremy'd himself, but that's such a 90s, only old people will understand what the fuck I just said
in front of everyone,
right? God, this is like, and it's like one of these things I was telling you in the car when we first heard this thing. It's just like when if you told us this 6 or 8 months ago, we'd be like mortified. But like the events of the past 6 months have truly just like, it's become all too much to take in. And you know, there comes a point, I'm sure you could relate, and the people in the audience, that like, how much emotion do you have left? You know, like, of course I still feel like the normal, like, this is fucking horrible and horrifying, but like, I can't even bring myself to like feel, as corny as that sounds. This is like the world we live in now. And
honestly, I hope I don't get banned for saying this, but when I was at the doctor, there was no one there. I was like the only one there.
Is this like a normal facility? Like,
yeah,
is this like a clinic, or like this was a hospital?
It's the UCLA hospital.
Oh.
Like, it's
yeah,
like there was no one in there. So you can deduce what you want from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's no.
Oh, but this is so serious.
Yeah,
it's so serious.
So serious.
It's so goddamn serious. Everybody wear masks. Stay 6 feet apart. You know, and if you see somebody who's not wearing a mask,
yell at them.
See, I think we're fine.
Oh God, yeah. So after that day, I came home, and I think for the next few hours, I was just like
livid. You were livid,
angry,
yeah, and just dumbfounded. You were just like, like, I can't. You said something to the effect of like, I won't let anyone take advantage of my emotions
anymore about this. Yeah, there's no, you can't. Like, I'd read stories about like, oh, so and so got it, and it's really sad because they, passed away and all that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm so done. I think it's hurting a lot more people than I think
it's helping.
Yeah,
and saving.
This is ridiculous. I was kind of like, oh no. Knowing my own family, knowing my own old people, like, Asians love taking care of their old people, like, knowing, like, this is from a nurse whose daughter is also in psychiatry. Like, I couldn't have possibly known this unless I decided to chat up the nurse. Like,
as one does.
Yeah, it was just really sad. I just needed to, tell you all, so you can experience the sadness too.
Oh man.
And the anger. I got so mad. I guess like, no more. I have been manipulated far too long. As someone who's a very logical person, I don't like having my emotions manipulated. And I was like, oh no, never again. It like hardened me. But anyways, everyone hates Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so, recommendation for this podcast.
Man, what a low note. That's okay, I like it.
I am recommending Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. A lot of people don't know this. It's a Christmas movie. So if you want to get in the mood, if you want to watch cults, and I think the fact that it's during Christmas time is very interesting. You can deduce guess what Stanley Kubrick was trying to say with that. I think it's hilarious. I think Stanley Kubrick is probably the snarkiest filmmaker that ever lived. And get in the mood. Watch.
Do you have any observations or things you want to share, just real quick? Because you study the shit out of that movie.
I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that the first half of the movie was very Kubrick, and like I think he passed away during this movie.
Something like that. I think it finished filming, but he barely was able to edit it. I think Christopher Nolan talked about how he just wonders and just wishes he could know what Stanley Kubrick's true vision for the editing for that movie was, because you said something like the 30 minutes feel very Kubrick, but the rest don't. Yeah,
the opening feels very Kubrick, and the rest of the movie is not, which is really, really fascinating because it's filmed like he would film it.
Yes.
And there are certain, like, if you have filmed anything before in your life, you'll understand certain aspects of filmmaking, like getting coverage, which is basically getting different types of shots so that when you go into editing, you have the shots you need.
You're good to go. And you can make and assemble the movie.
Yeah, so for example, you'll have your wide, your establishing shot, you'll have some over-the-shoulder shots, and you'll have singles or double, or and you get all of that, so you have that by the time you edit, so that in case you need an over-the-shoulder shot, you have it. And I was watching a scene after, like, the initial scene, because I had no idea at first that Kubrick didn't edit all of the movie. And I was like, this is strange. Why does it feel this way? And then you told me. I was like, the first half feels so, like, tight. Like, it feels exactly like Kubrick would do it. And then the latter half, I was like, this is all sorts of wrong. Like, there's so many beginner mistakes that I thought was, like, strange. Because when you set up a scene, usually it's, like, establishing shot, and then you cut in closer to, like, sometimes Kubrick likes to use, like, profiles and for like, action, gesture, basically, and to, body language stuff. And he likes the subjective versus objective. He likes objective, where you're like looking at a dollhouse kind of thing, where it like stayed on the wide far too long, and then it would do weird cuts that I was like, that's like an amateur cut this. And then I was like, there has to be like a single. There has to be. There's no way an experienced filmmaker like Kubrick wouldn't have gotten this over-the-shoulder shot, or wouldn't have gotten this. And lo and behold,
it just holds.
But it just holds on like a strange shot that you can't really see the acting. Too much is explained in dialogue, where I know for a fact that there should have been a single where you can see the acting, where it explains the story more than it just says it.
I can think of like a great one where Jack Nicholson's talking to the bartender. It feels very kind of intimate, but I think when Tom Cruise is talking to the guy who gives him the key to the special place.
Yeah.
It just holds on that wide.
Yeah, and it was like so much important information is delivered in that.
And you could have really milked it emotionally.
Yeah, and I could tell like the actor was acting. Why didn't they cut in? And then I saw, oh, they did cut in later. So I'm like, oh, you have that shot. You do have that shot. Why didn't you use it? And I was like, oh, this is a really interesting movie to kind of watch. And ask yourself, what would Kubrick have actually done, and what do you think?
Kind of requires you to watch this
multiple. Yeah.
Which ones would you say top 3 are the most Kubrick?
Shining for sure.
I'd say Strangelove.
Yeah, Strangelove,
and I think
Shining.
2001, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
2001's a little weird.
It's
for Kubrick. And I think Full Metal Jacket.
Really?
No, it is actually not very Kubrick.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah.
There's some shot, like there are certain things he does all the time, and then which is why I would watch Eyes Wide Shut and I'd be like, that doesn't seem like the choice he would have made. And yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I did a whole lot of studies on it, and the first half is amazing. The second half is okay, in my opinion.
All right, hope you enjoyed that. Leave a like again. Leave a comment down there.
Like, subscribe, check out these other podcast episodes, and don't forget to dare to dream.